The evidence of that is even after the Prime Minister said he was wrong, he decided to stand by Britain first. And I say to the Home Secretary, it's no good saying we've been robust. You've been robust before, it's not made the blindest bit of difference. He's a repeat offender and it will go on and on and on. You cannot stand up to this kind of action. You cannot stand up to horrible racism or pretend to do so and invite the man in through the front door. In the past, the Home Secretary repeatedly and quite rightly, when she was Home Secretary, the Prime Minister, when she was Home Secretary, said homophobes and racists who will stir up hatred in this country will not be allowed in this country, and if they come to this country, they'll be arrested. That's what should happen in this case, and the Home Secretary knows it. Just say it.
Home Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I would say to the honourable gentleman, there is no pretence here. We are absolutely clear in the action that we will take against people who propagate hate. And he should not underestimate the Prime Minister's views on this and the Prime Minister's absolute clarity on criticising the President and showing that to the public in her comment to him. So I won't take any criticism for him on the fact that this side of the House, this government, is committed to the agenda of making sure that we protect people, we promote British values, and I will continue to take that position from here.
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Home Secretary for her very important words this morning, echoing the Prime Minister. Would she agree with me that all politicians, all community leaders at every level, in every community, have a duty to be temperate in their language, tolerant in their actions, mindful of their social media presence, and make sure that the Home Secretary holds content platforms to account so that community cohesion and understanding is maintained?
Secretary.
Yes, my honourable friend is absolutely right. The issue of making sure that we support communities in their genuine efforts and plans and programmes to hold together despite difficulties that may come through is incredibly important. And we saw that this year. We saw that when, despite the wake of a series of terrorist attacks, our communities did hold together. And many of them went out of their way to support other faiths where other people were criticising them. That is the British way. Those are our values. That is what we should be proud of.
Dr. Lisa Cameron.
Many thanks, Mr. Speaker. We must take a firm stance against hate speak and ensure that future generations do. Would the Home Secretary speak with colleagues and consider supporting Holocaust education in schools so that younger generations can understand the importance of standing against discrimination and the very grave consequences of inaction?
Home Secretary.
Well, it's a very important point from the Honourable Lady, and I thank her for raising it. The Holocaust Educational Trust does incredibly good and important work. I know that because some of the children in my schools in Hastings and Rye have been on those trips. I've been on one myself. It is a very powerful way of remembering the terrible things that happened and how by remembering, by learning, we can make sure they don't happen again. So I absolutely support her point.
Steve Double.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Home Secretary share my astonishment that someone in the position of the President of the United States actually finds the time to be trawling through Twitter looking for posts as abhorrent as he has retweeted? And does she share my view that far from making America great again, his actions in retweeting those tweets actually reflect badly on his office and actually undermine the very principles that the United States was founded on?
A very important point from my honourable friend, which is why the Prime Minister was so swift and so firm in her response to his tweet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I think of Muslim children in Newcastle waking up to find themselves being attacked by the President of the most powerful nation on earth, because that is how it will appear to them, then my heart bleeds. However, the 45th President is not accountable to the children of Newcastle. It's hard to see to whom he does hold himself accountable, but the social media giants are, through the Home Secretary. So what is the Home Secretary going to do today to demonstrate that accountability?
The Honourable Lady might refer her friends and the community to the comment by my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government, who very much made his comments as a Muslim, and I think that other Muslims in this country might take comfort from that as well. In terms of what we are doing online, we are making sure that we provide the leadership that is necessary to make as much of this hate and illegal information that is sometimes put online taken down. And in order to do that, the relationship with the US, which is what is so critical for this House to understand, that the relationship with the US is absolutely critical to making real progress with the online companies. They are American companies. They are based in Silicon Valley. They are subject to US law. If we are going to make real progress with these internet companies, we have to do it in close alliance with our American friends.
Kate Green.
When the Prime Minister has her next regular conversation with the United States President, could the Home Secretary ensure that she conveys to him that the purveying of this kind of hate speech simply serves the ends of those who wish to promote hatred in my constituency and between different communities in my constituency? And does she also undertake to ask the Prime Minister to convey to him that my black, Muslim, Jewish, Sikh and other minority constituents, every time this kind of hate speech is perpetrated, feel more fear, alienation and suspicion from others in the community, and that is why he, the President, will not be welcome in this country, because he is perpetrating and extending that hate speech.
We are very clear that the sort of hate that she describes, the sort of division that is sown by Britain First, for instance, is completely unwelcome here in the UK. And we will always make sure that we take action to call it out. We also operate in the Home Office to take down information that can sometimes get up there that should not be there. We take down, in terms of terrorist content, about 2,000 pieces a week. We are always stepping up to make sure that we have more information out there that can help to bind our communities together, because like her, I share that view. I have the same response in my own constituency to wanting to be absolutely clear that our communities will hold together, that we abhor all hate crime, and that we will make sure we always say that.
Kevin Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I offer the government a way out of the diplomatic ditch that they're in? Her Majesty the Queen, because of her great and very welcome age, has been cutting back on her engagements. She's got a royal wedding to look forward to next year, and the birth of a new great-grandchild. Don't those facts alone justify the government announcing the postponement of the state visit by the President of the United States for at least, say, 3 years?
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for his thoughtful advice to the royal family. And as I have said previously, the dates have not yet been agreed. But thank you for his advice. Thank you.
Mr. Barry Sherman.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very saddened by what Trump has done. Like many people in our country, I have been a great friend of America's. Indeed, as a very young man, I emigrated to the United States and still cherish my old green card. But so many of my American friends and relatives have said to me over this last few hours, this man does not speak for America. This man has betrayed the tradition of the United States, yes, of freedom and liberty and respecting everyone, whatever their religion or their background. Please, as we negotiate this thing, and please stop this man coming on a state visit, because if he comes, there will be demonstrations unparalleled in the past in this country. Please, will she act now before it's too late?
Home Secretary.
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for his comments, and like him, I am a great admirer of America. And like him, I have friends with different views, shall we say, to the President, who are keen to communicate them to me sometimes. As far as the invitation is concerned, I thank him for his views, but no date has been agreed yet.
Ian Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I emphasise that the issues that the President of the United States has said on Twitter is not what the American people feel, and I'm sure that most Americans would be both embarrassed and abhorred by what the President has done. The Home Secretary is in charge of policing in this country, so this is a very serious and direct question. Racial and religious hatred, and inciting it is a crime in this country. Have either Twitter or the President of the United States committed a crime?
Mr. Speaker, we keep all potential crimes of the type that the honourable gentleman has referred to under review. I'm not going to comment on individual cases of the type that he has particularly said. I'm sure he can conclude himself of the line between free speech and criminal activity, and I think I will leave it at that.
Imran Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 years ago, I tabled an early day motion calling for then presidential candidate Trump to be banned from visiting the United Kingdom in light of the extremely divisive comments he made at that time, until he retracted those comments. With his tweets yesterday and overnight, it is clear that he has not changed, and that's the key point. So can the Home Secretary tell me why it is right for someone so intent on stirring up hatred contrary to the values of this country to be invited to the UK for an all-expenses-paid state visit at the expense of the taxpayer?
And what about the values of the American people? The American people of whom he is the President. The American people who so many members here on both sides of the House have said how much they admire. Those are the values that I admire. Those are the values that I feel we have so much in common with.
Tony Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Home Secretary will know very well that in this tolerant country of ours, non-Muslims, Muslims live in peace together as friends, neighbours, sometimes as members of the same families. How do I go back and explain to my own constituents that there is a national interest in inviting somebody who is there to divide our communities one from another?
Home Secretary.
Well, I would urge the honourable gentleman to point out perhaps some of the points that I have made today in the House about the way that he is the American President, and we have such admiration and affection for the American people, that we share values with them in so many different ways, and that we are so grateful to their intelligence services, their security services, that with whom we work so closely, that their closeness of that work, the trust that is between us, allows them to help save British lives so effectively. That is why we have such a close and special relationship with the Americans.
Stephen Timms.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Taking the charitable view that the President of the United States doesn't know the character of this organisation whose vile utterances he has endorsed, will she assure the House that the government will make him well aware of its view of the character of this organisation and of its effects, so that he has the opportunity clearly to distance himself from any association with it before there can be any question of him visiting the United Kingdom?
Secretary.
It is certainly our intention to be absolutely clear that the type of organisation that he appeared to be promoting in his retweet is wholly unwelcome, is full of hate, and we will continue to call that out. I think that my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, made that clear in her criticism of him, but we will not miss an opportunity to make that point again, and we will do so strongly and firmly.
Dr. Rupa Haq.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Back in 2010, the now Prime Minister, as Home Secretary, banned radical Indian televangelist preacher Zakir Naik from entering the UK for his repeated pattern of unacceptable behaviour, and in particular his line, "Every Muslim is a terrorist." Her exact words at the time were, "I'm not willing to allow those not conducive to the public good to enter the UK." Surely the same applies here to President Trump and his frequent repugnant outbursts, and given particularly that we're in Islamophobia Awareness Month, just launched here the other day, where the government's own Casey report was quoted. That says that trigger events feed Islamophobia. That means women with hijabs being ripped off them. It means granddads being murdered on the way back from prayers. It means pigs' heads being left on mosque doorsteps. As a Muslim, can I ask that she does the same as her predecessor, as our Prime Minister did with those previous examples? There was also a rapper who was excluded for his misogynist lyrics. Can they not just continue that tract and ban this visit altogether?
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for the point particularly that she made about Islamophobia, which we take incredibly seriously, which is why it featured so strongly in the Hate Crime Action Plan that I launched last year, and which is why we've provided extra money to make sure that mosques can be protected, which is why we provide additional financial support for Tell Mama, which does such great work combating Islamophobia. So we are very serious about making sure that the type of hate crime that she addressed is taken seriously and stopped so we can protect people. And my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, was absolutely right to ban the people that she referred to. We don't comment on individual exclusion cases, but I will make sure that we always look very carefully where it is appropriate.
Clive Efford.
Speaker, my constituents of Eltham know only too well where extremism ultimately leads, and the actions of the President cannot be set aside as a mistake. He is a repeat offender, as has already been said. These are his views, and anybody else holding these views would not be welcome in this country. And the Home Secretary must see the double standards that she's representing here today by saying that she condemns the actions of the President, but at the same time is opening out her arms with an invitation to him to come to this country. Surely she has to say and send a clear message that he is not welcome here.
Home Secretary.
Well, I don't accept that there are double standards. What I accept is that we have been totally consistent in making sure that we call out hate crime and we take aggressive action in order to stop it, which is why my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, responded so strongly to that tweet, and why other Cabinet Ministers have also taken action as well. So we will always make sure that we call it out and we take action in order to stop the vile hate crime that can take place.
Liz McInnes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Has anyone in the UK government actually asked for these tweets to be taken down?
Very good.
Mr. Speaker, I'll have to come back to the Honourable Lady on that matter.
Paula Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Home Secretary provide me with some guidance about how I should respond to residents in my incredibly diverse constituency when they ask me why our government are affording someone with such abhorrent, vile, fascist and bigoted views the luxury of a state visit? And if we don't take action today, when will we?
Well, can I ask the Honourable Lady to refer her constituents, as I will mine, to the strong action, the strong response that the Prime Minister responded with? And also I would ask her to point out why the strong relationship with the US is so in her constituents' interests. Tell them, explain to them that it is action that we have shared with the intelligence services in the US that helps to keep British people safe. We don't want to jeopardise any of that. She shakes her head, but this is an important point in terms of keeping her constituents safe. That relationship is so critical to us. I wouldn't want to harm it at all.
Mike Amesbury.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Surely the robust response required now is to withdraw that invitation.
The most important action that we can take to stop the promulgation of the type of hate crime that has been promoted by Britain First and is promoted by other extreme right-wing groups is to make sure that we work with the major internet companies to get more action taken. And this is exactly the area where the UK has been leading internationally. It is the area where the Prime Minister has been leading at the recent UN conference. And this whole House can rely on this government to make sure that we do that. We will make sure that they deliver for us.
Order. In thanking the honourable gentleman for Cardiff South and Penarth for submitting his urgent question, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Home Secretary and the Shadow Home Secretary for being present on this important occasion, and coupled with that, perhaps I can express my gratitude to all colleagues for participating in this very important set of exchanges. Just before I call the Shadow Leader for business question, I would emphasise that there is huge pressure on time from now on, because there is an emergency debate under SO24 to take place, which can run for up to 3 hours, and 2 debates to be conducted under the auspices of the Backbench Business Committee. There is therefore a premium now on short questions and short answers. Valerie Vaz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I ask the Leader of the House to update the House on the previously announced business?
Thank you. The Leader of the House, Andrea Leadsom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The business for the week commencing the 4th of December will include Monday the 4th of December, continuation in committee of the European Union Withdrawal Bill, Day 4. Tuesday the 5th of December, Opposition Day, 6th allotted day. There will be a debate on an opposition motion subject to be announced. Wednesday the 6th of December, continuation in committee of the European Union Withdrawal Bill, Day 5.
Even better.
Thursday the 7th of December, debate on a motion on prison reform and safety, followed by a general debate on the UK fishing industry. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 8th of December, the House will not be sitting. The provisional business for the week commencing the 11th of December will include Monday the 11th of December, the second reading of the Finance Bill. Tuesday the 12th of December, continuation in committee of the European Union Withdrawal Bill, Day 6.
Fantastic.
Wednesday the 13th of December, continuation in committee of the European Union Withdrawal Bill, Day 7.
What happened?
Thursday the 14th of December, debate on a motion on equality of pension provision for women, followed by debate on a motion on hormone pregnancy tests. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 15th of December, the House will not be sitting. The provisional business for the week commencing the 18th of December will include Monday the 18th of December, consideration in committee of the Finance Bill, Day 1, Tuesday the 19th of December, consideration in committee of the Finance Bill, Day 2. Wednesday the 20th of December, conclusion of continuation in committee of the European Union Withdrawal Bill, Day 8.
Hooray.
Thursday the 21st of December, a general debate on Russian interference in UK politics and society, followed by a general debate on matters to be raised before the forthcoming adjournment. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 22nd of December, a very Merry Christmas to everybody, Madam Deputy Speaker. I should also like to inform the House that the business in Westminster Hall for December will include Monday the 4th of December, debate on an e-petition relating to public sector pay. Thursday the 7th of December, debate on the Women and Equalities Committee report on women in the House of Commons after the 2020 election and the government's response. Monday the 11th of December, debate on e-petitions relating to a referendum on the deal for the UK's exit from the European Union. Thursday the 14th of December, debate on the Home Affairs Committee report on asylum accommodation and the government's response. Followed by a debate on the 19th of December, followed by a debate on the Northern Ireland Affairs Committee report on HM government support for UK victims of IRA attacks that used Gaddafi-supplied Semtex and weapons, and the government's response. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm sure the whole House will want to join me in marking World AIDS Day, which takes place tomorrow. Significant progress has been made in fighting HIV, but we must continue the work to end stigma, end HIV transmission, and end the isolation experienced by people living with HIV for good. Madam Deputy Speaker, as I've said many times, Scotland is much loved across the whole country. Both the UK Government and the UK Parliament are committed to championing Scotland and standing up for Scotland's interests. So can I take this opportunity to wish everyone, and especially our friends north of the border, a very happy St Andrew's Day. And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, can I add my sincere congratulations to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on their engagement and wish them all the very best for the future. Thank you.
Shadow Leader of the House, Valerie Vaz.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and can I thank the Leader of the House for updating the House on the forthcoming business. Could I ask whether she is able to say whether the report stage and the third reading of the European Withdrawal Bill, when that will be coming before the House, and could she say whether she is going to publish the motion on restoration and renewal before Christmas. I'm pleased to say that the opposition day is going to be, the subject will be universal credit. And I wanted to also thank Madam Deputy Speaker, Mr. Speaker, for granting the opposition, for granting the debate on Yemen, as one of the two honourable members who've been born in Yemen, the other one being the Right Honourable Member for Leicester East. We have very happy memories of that country. One of the abiding memories at this time at Christmas was of Father Christmas arriving on a camel. But what Mr. Speaker has actually done is to provide a debate and given the gift of life and hope to those people who are suffering in Yemen. Can I thank the Leader of the House for indicating that the Register of Ministers' Interests will be updated shortly. I'm just not clear what the word shortly means, how long it will be, because the Ministerial Code at section 7.5 says a statement covering relevant ministers' interests will be published twice yearly. Now, it was honoured in 2016, but we haven't seen anything yet. And could I also ask the Leader of the House, she mentioned that 22nd, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, but could she ensure, by writing round to all the departments, that there isn't a plethora of statements published on the 21st, because it's very difficult to put our constituents' views forward and to question ministers, particularly as there was an urgent question on the forensic services. The Minister had actually said it's a very serious matter, and it is, but the written statement was published the day before the budget. Because, Madam Deputy Speaker, transparency and accountability are the watchwords of our democracy. So perhaps the Leader of the House can explain why there is no general amendment to the law resolution. There have been only 5 occasions where that hasn't happened. In 1929, it came immediately before a general election, while the others in 74, 97, 2010 and July 2017, that was immediately after a general election. Erskine May points out it is done on occasions, and in particular when it has been necessary to proceed rapidly with a finance bill, in anticipation of a dissolution of Parliament. So could the Leader of the House update us as to what the government's thinking was, why there isn't a chance for the opposition on all sides to put forward our alternative case, because we have had listening chances before, as my honourable friend, the member for Dewsbury, found out when she got an amendment to the finance bill ensuring that the tampon tax was put through. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is about democracy. The Leader of the House and I have previously had a debate about how Parliament is being rigged. The government have rigged committees so that they have a majority when they don't have one, when they don't command one in Parliament. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, from treating Parliament to contempt to an actual contempt of the House. I know that in the streets of Northampton or Walsall, people are not going around chanting, "What do we want?" sectoral analysis. When do we want it? Now. They have elected us to do that. And we say that on behalf of those constituents who want to see those sectoral analyses. Madam Deputy Speaker, the motion was very clear. What it said was that the documents, the impact assessments, sectoral analysis of those 58 important sectors should be handed to the Select Committee. We're not asking for them to be published, so that they can look at them in a private session, and that's done all the time by Select Committees, and that's what we want. How could they possibly have an inquiry without the evidence? As Parliament is sovereign, as people so often like to tell us, the Secretary of State has to listen to Parliament. Our sovereign Parliament has instructed him to give up those papers. Madam Deputy Speaker, there are a number of anniversaries that the Leader of the House has alluded to, but Sunday, as the Honourable Member for Battersea reminded us at Prime Minister's Question Time, is Disability Day. And I know the Minister is making a statement after this, and I hope he will address the fact that the government say that there's parity of esteem between mental health and physical conditions. A constituent of mine has been penalised in her PIP assessment while her mother is going through cancer treatment, that she may not have her PIP because of her mental health conditions. Could the Leader of the House please ensure that there is parity of esteem in PIP assessments? And I hope the statement will set out how the government is dealing with errors in the payment of ESA. 75,000 people have been affected and only 1,000 people have been contacted. It's good that the Minister's coming here, because the Chancellor's financial statement, all 8,000 words of it, didn't mention the word disability or people with disabilities once. People with disabilities and their families are set to lose £5,500 a year by 2022 because of existing tax and benefit changes. It was a flatlining government, a budget from a flatlining government. Madam Deputy Speaker, tomorrow is World AIDS Day. Diana, Princess of Wales, did so much to dispel the myth around AIDS. And I agree with the Leader of the House. On behalf of the opposition, we want to congratulate her younger son, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle on their engagement. And it is fitting they have chosen Nottingham Contemporary, a gallery which will be hosting the Terence Higgins Trust World AIDS Day charity fair as their first public event. We wish them a long and happy life together, as Prince Harry's grandparents have celebrated, and we wish Prince Philip congratulations on his new honour as they celebrate their 70 years. Finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, it is St Andrew's Day, and everyone who is called Andrew, we wish them a very happy St Andrew's Day, one of the patron saints of our United Kingdom.
House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And again, as ever, the Honourable Lady raises a wide range of interesting and thought-provoking points. I would like to, first of all, say, as ever, the report and third reading of the EU withdrawal bill and the motions on R&R will be brought forward as soon as possible. She will appreciate it's not always possible to give such far advance, and I know last week she welcomed me announcing the business up until Christmas, and I will always seek to be as helpful as possible to the House, including in providing future information on the tabling of different parts of the business. She mentions the Opposition Day subject of universal credit. On this side of the House, we welcome all views. We've had a number of debates on this subject in recent weeks, and my right honourable friend was pleased to come to the House to address the motion that was passed by this House on universal credit, as I had pledged would be the case whenever a motion was passed by this House. He did fulfil that pledge within that 12-week time frame, and I hope that honourable members did note that, and I look forward to this further debate. I share with her enthusiasm for discussing the plight of those living in Yemen under such terrible, terrible times, and I think we all look forward to the emergency debate later on today. I just say to her again on the Register of Ministers' Interests, it will be provided as soon as possible. I can't give a specific date. There's quite a lot of work to be done to compile and finalise that report, and it will be provided just as soon as we can. She asks that statements be avoided, written ministerial statements be avoided on the 21st of December. What I would say to her is, obviously, members of the government come under criticism for publishing things, anything outside of sitting days, but now, of course, she wants to criticise the government for publishing things on sitting days. I don't think we can really accept that sitting days should be ring-fenced simply because they're drawing near to the end of a period of sitting. So I think she will need to bear in mind that ministers make great efforts to ensure that they make announcements whilst the House is sitting, giving the House the opportunity to look at that. She asks about the specific point on the opposition's ability to put forward an alternative case for the finance bill. If I may, I will write to her on that point. I am actually looking into that at the moment. She suggests that there aren't any people in her constituency or mine who are walking about demanding impact assessments. I think she underestimates the good people of Northamptonshire and indeed Oxfordshire. My honourable friend and my PPS and I are very clear that our constituents are interested, and indeed it is the case that the Secretary of State for exiting the EU and his ministerial team have been clear. The analysis was not a series of impact assessments examining the impact of EU exit on the 58 sectors, and in fact, in order to meet the motion of the 1st of November, we've taken a lot of time to bring together the sectoral analyses in a way that is accessible and informative to the committee. These analyses are being made available to all members of the House of Commons and the House of Lords in a private reading room, and the Secretary of State for exiting the EU will be meeting the Select Committee next Wednesday, the 6th of December. Finally, she raises the very important issue of parity of esteem for mental and physical disability. I absolutely share her determination that we should achieve that. That is the goal and intention of this government, and I'm sure she will welcome, as I do, the fact that since 2010, spending on disability has increased by £7 billion, and what this government is determined to do is to enable people with disabilities to have more control over their lives and to enable them to seek work that suits their capabilities, to give them the chance to improve their own lives as far as is possible. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Order. The colleagues will have heard what the Speaker said about the pressure on time today. He has indicated to me that he would like the emergency debate on Yemen to start no later than 1 o'clock, in which case I'm going to run business questions until 12:15, but there is then another statement, so colleagues who might prefer to intervene in the later statement perhaps bear that in mind. Sir David Amos.
Will my right honourable friend find time for a debate on boosting trade between China and the United